This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah.
Somebody just what?
Hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo ngoma ngilala ngoma ngivuka ikhona lento yenzayo hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo ngoma ngilala ngoma ngivuka ikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo
kuyoba nini namntana umuntu mangibona wena inhliziyo yami ishaya umqiqo noma ngithi ngivala amehlo ngizwa awusitsho sakho mthanda umuntu isiqiqi mawoqi ayini lo ngenza yona ngiyacela mthanda umuntu vele uthathe intando yakho uyifake emanzini ngoba
hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo kuma ikhona lento yenzayo hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo ngoma ngilala ngoma ngivuka ikhona lento yenzayo imnandi ungaye ngoma ngilala ngoma ngivuka ikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo
wenhliziyo yami yona yaphuma xhunga
inhliziyo yami inhliziyo yami yathuma njalo nje njalo mangibona wena you make me happy you make me feel happy ngiyajabula mina mangibona wena
mthanda umuntu khona lento yenzayo
hayiwe nikhona lento yenzayo ikhona lento yenzayo lento icela ungayiye hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo lapho ngeke ngiyenda hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo uma ngivuka hayibo ikhona lento yenzayo
khona lento yenzayo qhubeka ungayeki hlala omelela nami nginawe
It is a brand new offering from three phenomenal of this particular show, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, featuring Mbuzo Khosa and, of course, Udokotela Nduduzo Makatini. You Make Me Happy is the name of this particular song, and all three gentlemen, constant visitors and guests here on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. It was bound to happen, this project, this collaboration. It's probably been a long, long time coming indeed. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing today? Hope you are having a fantastic day. Easing into it, the week is galloping. It's galloping so fast. It's already Thursday, which means that we're going to be wrapping up the work week in just a day and a half. But the weirdest thing is that March in itself is dragging because we still have more March next week. It doesn't finish this weekend. It finishes midweek next week. So you kind of wish that it will also gallop just as fast. We've got lots of show coming your way. We are going to catch up with the DKMS Africa. And you know them. They oftentimes dip into the show. So we're going to be talking around the gap between the right to life and access to treatment. And then we're also going to be looking at South Africa's mathematics crises, why it matters, and what comes next. This forms part of an ongoing conversation when we look at issues around STEM in the country. Stages, pages, screens, and more. We wouldn't be an arts and culture focus show if we didn't delve into that. And we're going to be in conversation with a pianist and composer. And then I'll let you know what else is coming up later on the show. But because it is Human Rights Month, we are going to have a conversation that's tailored towards that. 10 past 1 o'clock on the dot. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on. And of course, we are also live on our social media pages, so you can find us there. A quick pause. We'll be right back.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
This Human Rights Month, we commemorate a significant milestone, the Bill of Rights at 30, making human dignity real. For 3 decades, South Africa's constitution has been a beacon of equality, freedom, and justice for all. Yet dignity is not just written in our constitution, it must be lived, protected, and upheld every single day. Join SAFM as we unpack the issues that matter, elevate voices driving change, and reflect on the progress we've made while confronting the work that still lies ahead. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Tune into the National Pulse with Ashraf Garded this afternoon at 20 past 5 p.m. as he engages the Jo'qabi District Municipality to unpack the 2026 Debt Write-Off and Incentive Program. Find out how residents and businesses can benefit from interest and penalty write-offs and what conditions apply, and how this initiative supports sustainable service delivery across the district. The program will run until the 31st of December 2026, and this is your chance to understand how to get relief and stay compliant. Don't miss this important conversation.
SAFM music, crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good, only on SAFM.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Entlek, Let's Connect is coming to you from the Montreal Jazz Festival in Franschhoek. The first time this iconic festival takes place on African soil. And you can join Penny Libiani and Frank Rico for exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access, and, of course, the festival experience. Watch Friday, the 27th of March at 4:30 p.m. on SABC2. Entlek, Let's Connect and be a part of the moment. SABC2, you belong.
Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, it's gone 1:15 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. We're talking now with Palisa Mukumele, who is the head of community engagement and communication at DKMS Africa. And on the 21st of March, South Africa observed Human Rights Day, and it's a day rooted in the memory of Sharpeville and the long struggle for dignity and equality. Now, Section 11 of the Constitution is unambiguous. Everyone has the right to life. And yet in hospital wards across the country, that right is being quietly forfeited by patients who need a stem cell transplant and cannot find a matching donor because the systems, the registries, and the resources needed to deliver on that constitutional promise have not kept pace with the need. And so we're catching up with DKMS Africa around this conversation. How are you doing this afternoon, Palisa?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. As much as DKMS Africa oftentimes dips into conversation on the show, let us not squander the moment in just cluing in some of our listeners as to who is DKMS and the kind of work that you undertake.
Perfect. So DKMS is an international nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the fight against blood cancer. We find matching stem cell donors for patients from different ethnicities. And, we collaborate with different institutions, with the public, universities, churches, anyone who's willing to have us to educate and to recruit people who are between the ages of 17 and 55 and who are willing to help someone by donating their stem cell.
Let's talk about the correlation, what Human Rights Day reveals about the gap between the right to life and the access to life-saving treatments in South Africa, like stem cell donation.
Yeah, so our constitution is pretty clear on the citizens' rights to healthcare and to life, essentially. But the reality is that this is not completely true of people who are needing stem cell transplantations. There are quite a number of gaps that prohibit people from living healthy lives once they've been diagnosed. One of the biggest ones is that, firstly, we don't have a big enough registry. DKMS has done quite a lot of work in the last 5 years to educate people to be accessible and to register as many people from different ethnicities as possible. But this is not sufficient. We still need to do more, and we need more partners to do this. The second barrier is the issue of cost. A stem cell transplant is extremely costly, and we know that the majority of our population, for example, does not have medical aid and relies on state facilities. There are critical gaps within our healthcare system in relation to, the availability of beds, for example, to do the transplants, skills shortages. And these are things that we have identified as an organization. And I'm glad to say that these are things that we are, helping to assist with and are willing to assist with.
Why is finding a matching donor, why is that oftentimes the biggest barrier for survival?
So a patient has a big chance of finding a match, a successful match from someone of their own, from within their own race, right? Or someone from their own kind of heritage. So the more ethnicities we have represented on the global registry, the better chances that someone with a very unique heritage or ethnic makeup is able to find a matching donor. If you look at South Africa, for example, we've registered 173,000 people, and this is growing every single day. But if you look at the size of our population, it is really a small number. Our aim is to register 1 million people by 2030. So this is the capacity that we'll be kind of putting behind this number, leading up to 2030. But people like ourselves had a very difficult chance of firstly finding matching stem cell donors. And even when we have found a matching stem cell donor, that donors are very often not willing to take the final step, which is to do the actual donation. So we've closed the gap a little bit because more and more brown people are finding matches. But the big issue now is that even when the matches have been identified, people often say, no, I'm not ready to, or I'm too scared to, which is obviously very devastating for patients.
Absolutely. And we'll double back to sort of that sentiment, the not being ready or the too scared, because I think it speaks to debunking maybe what the process is like. And I know in previous conversations with perhaps yourself or another of your colleagues, we've actually unpacked what the process of stem donation is. Maybe at this point we should actually just get into it, because people are often afraid of something that they don't understand how it works.
Yeah. So a stem cell donation requires a healthy person. So you have to be between the ages of 17 and 55 in order for you to be eligible to register, to become a donor. You have to be of general good health, and then once you've been identified, one of our team members will reach out to you, and you have to do a full body assessment. And this is to check that you are okay, because your health obviously comes first. You need to be healthy in order to give such a vital part of yourself to someone else so that they're also healthy. So these are done, and once you've passed these tests and everything is cleared, then you begin a process of getting your body ready to give the stem cells. So your body has your own stem cells, and you need to give extra to what you have. So there's a process then where more stem cells are awakened in your body. And these are the stem cells that are going to go to someone else, right? And so the stem cells come from your bone marrow, from your bone marrow into your bloodstream, which means that the process itself does not require an operation. You are not cut in any way. When the day comes for you to have the stem cells taken from your body, is through an injection on both arms, and the one injection takes the blood and stem cells, right, because the stem cells are in your blood, and then the other injection brings back your blood into your body, and the stem cells are separated in a little bag, right, and this is the magic then, that the stem cells are then taken to the patient, and the patient has been conditioned, and they are waiting for this life-changing magic that you are giving to them, essentially.
Just to reiterate the challenges within South Africa's stem cell donor registry and the healthcare system right now, where does the burden lie there?
I think we're making progress. We're making progress, but there are a number of things that the capacity within tertiary facilities is extremely limited. We recently visited facilities in 3 provinces to look at how to assist just with refurbishments, how to assist with getting more beds, because there is a shortage of beds. So even if everyone in South Africa were to register, and if we were able to build capacity or to have everyone agree to be a stem cell donor, we wouldn't be able to deal with that capacity. So there are those constraints. What we've also found is that we don't have enough nurses in hematology. So that's another project that we're also working on as an organization. What I think has been remarkable in the 5 years is that we've had to respond to what our country's needs are. And I think this is the benefit of being part of a global organization, that we're able to pool resources, we're able to act outside what would have been just a purely clinical activity and say, but these other layers also contribute towards us being able to do this work well. So how can we then, pool funds or pool resources, pool skills to align all of these things and to move in a way that basically ensures that a patient has a better chance of life and of getting treatment and being well.
I also want to touch a little bit, and our time is fast running short, to touch on the importance of increasing the diversity and the number of registered donors, and why that is so critical for this registry to be so diverse. I mean, I recall a story with one of your colleagues of a young lady who, her entire family, extended family, friends, everybody, no one was a match for a donation for her, and her donation came from outside the country. Talk to us about why that becomes such a critical thing to ensure diversity of this registry.
It's incredibly critical. South Africa sits in a very unique position in that we are a majority black country. We had an issue 5 years ago where our registry did not reflect the demographics of our country. We've corrected that. So we started recruiting and driving education and awareness in very diverse communities, because a patient's chances of finding a matching stem cell donor are from someone of the same ethnic group. So if you are black, chances are you'll find a matching stem cell donor from a black person. And if you look at the global registry, there just are not enough brown people on the registry. So even if someone is in America or in the UK or wherever, if you are brown, you just have less chances of finding a matching stem cell donor. And I think this is fantastic for us, that we've built the skills, that we've got the capacity to negate some of the beliefs that say that black people will never donate. That you will never be able to do this because there are too many cultural myths. People have too many problems to even start thinking about donating stem cells. So we know that we are capable of doing this, but and that we've built the skills. But now we need to ramp up even more. We need more partners. We need to make sure that people understand that it's not a procedure that's going to maim you in any way.
Yeah.
It's literally about you giving something that is extra to your body. Your body, a healthy person is able to generate and regenerate healthy stem cells. What we would like people to understand is that it's additional to what you have, but it's critical for someone else whose body is just not able to produce healthy blood and healthy stem cells.
Absolutely, very critical indeed. And knowing that, depending where you give birth and what institutions, the option is given for you to retain your stem cells at birth. However, it is a pricey process. At that, I forgoed it. I said no, thank you, because it's upwards of 30,000 rand. And that means you ultimately, your child walk out of that hospital and you put your faith in the greater community of society that should you encounter something down the line, people who respond to DKMS's message, people who take up that call are the people who are ultimately going to help you and your family.
Exactly. And only 30% of patients find a matching stem cell donor from their own family. 70% of us are going to require a complete stranger as generosity to override their fear, right? And you're right. Sometimes, if you do this procedure you were just talking about, that the stem cells are not enough. So you've essentially paid all this money, but they may just not be enough. And so that's why DKMS does the work that we do. We do 27 of these procedures every single day globally. We've got the expertise. We know that it works.
Palisa, we unfortunately have to leave it there for today, but we appreciate the time. That was Palisa Mukomele, who is the head of community engagement and communication at DKMS Africa. And they are on social media. You can Google them and get yourself on that registry. Be that one person who changes another family's trajectory. It's gone 1:30. It's time for the headline news.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the East London High Court has interdicted the Eastern Cape ANC elective conference that was scheduled for this upcoming weekend in Kugombo. The High Court in Bulugwane, Limpopo, will this afternoon hear an urgent application to interdict the ANC provincial conference. And the DA says the law must take its course following reports that National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula has been issued with summons in connection with the controversial 360 million rand Medicare 24 contract. Have an update follows at the top of the hour.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Yeah, to that conversation with Palisa, it is a lot of money up front. I mean, the option is there when you give birth to your child. And I know for us, the option was there. It was presented by our doctors and the laboratory to keep those stem cells, but upwards of 35,000 plus just to do that procedure, which has to be done when the child is being born. So, and it's not feasible at times. Cash, not feasible at times because medical aid ayihlangan lapho. So if you heard our conversation with Palisa and you are interested in some of the work that DKMS Africa does, please do be in contact with them. It's a non-invasive procedure. It's just like giving blood, just like donating blood, in fact. It's the exact same thing, and it could save a life, But we're talking to Dr. Shaheen Patel now, Academic Dean at Regent Business School, and we're looking at South Africa's mathematics crises and why it matters and what should come next, because we're facing this growing mathematics crisis that they project could have long-term consequences for the country's future. Now, last year in 2025, only about 34% of matric learners chose pure mathematics, meaning that nearly 2/3 of school leavers are exiting the system without one of the most important gateway subjects. Dr. Shaheen, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Bridget. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you very much. So you'll say that this is more than just a classroom issue. In fact, it signals a shrinking pipeline of young people who are able to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and a variety of other fields.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's well known that mathematics is a predeterminant of careers or pipelines or access pathways to careers in STEM. And if we don't address the crisis that is brewing in and around mathematics, pure mathematics, mathematics literacy, if we don't address it early on within the schooling system, I think we're going to start to see real threats to our global competitiveness as a country, and we're going to start to lag behind in key areas like technology, science, engineering, and mathematics.
And it's the addressing part, right, Dr. Shaheen, that becomes very integral to this conversation, because there has been a big push for at least the past decade around conscientizing around STEM. So what are we still getting wrong if that number is still holding at around 30%?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of reasons in terms of what we may be getting wrong as a system, all right? And I think perhaps chief amongst them, at the level of the individual, is a fear of failure. I think students and perhaps even people advising students at the school level fear the failure. If I take on something difficult and I don't make it, I'd rather take the easier way out and have something. And that's a bit of a short-termism mindset, which helps improving things like pass rates and the like. So you've got a solution to today's problem. But what are you doing for tomorrow? And are you creating further problems down the line and a long-term limitation perhaps in that sense? So that's one thing. I think around the fear of failure at the student level, parents, teachers, administrators and principals and the like. But perhaps if you look at it slightly more broadly, right? We don't invest enough in teachers. Perhaps maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had on that front. Because if we have the right amount of quality supply of mathematical literacy education in the schooling system, then perhaps the demand will follow. Perhaps people will realize that, I'm less likely to fail because I've got really good access to quality teachers in mathematics. And then that goes to a structural problem because we know that in South Africa, depending which school you go to or which area you might live in, that will determine whether or not you've got access to quality teachers in education.
I love the first point that you make around this sort of perception of taking on something that might be too difficult. This fear of failure, because it reminds me of a conversation that Dr. Mamokgethi Phakeng once had on social media, former Chancellor UCT. And she's a big advocate, of course, we know of STEM, being, a maths buff herself. And she said part of the problem is how we perhaps position mathematics and how we've historically positioned mathematics as this difficult, challenging subject. The languaging around it breeds negativity towards it, breeds a deterrent towards it. And perhaps we should interrogate that as a point of entry. How do we language around mathematics? Because if the languaging creates a fear, then inevitably we are never going to get anything correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like with so many things when we talk about education, the foundation is psychology. And psychology is determined by the words that we use, the mental models that we form, and in the way that we communicate, because that communication gets received in a multitude of ways by people depending where they are in their lives and what they're trying to achieve in that conversation. And so deeply fundamental is the idea of how do we position things like mathematics. And if we perhaps move away from the mindset that says you really need to go and study mathematics, you really need to apply yourself to your studies in mathematics, that implies a heaviness for people who don't really want to be there on their own. The motivation for learning is not implicit for people like that. And if we change the narrative ever so slightly and we say, start asking questions of students. Start asking, do you like solving problems? Do you enjoy getting your hands dirty on things that are like really technical to solve? Oh, you do? That's excellent. Do you know what? When you study mathematics, you'll actually be trained on how to approach that in a more structured way. And all of a sudden, you've now brought people into the system of mathematics, into the system of STEM, and we're strengthening, again now, from my point earlier, we're strengthening the problems of today without creating unforeseen consequences for tomorrow. And I think in that way, the messaging, the language, the psychology all comes together quite nicely in trying to help address this important issue.
Absolutely. I want us to take a quick break here. We'll come back on the other side and we'll interrogate those future consequences that you speak of. What do they hold for South Africa if we carry on around this sort of trajectory?
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
It's a new day, new deadlines. You're gonna do your best. You're only human.
Thank you for your patience.
So why, when contacting your business's current provider, an automated voice adds you to an imaginary queue, like you're just another number?
Your caller number 17.
Not exactly humane, is it? Don't let bad tech choices get in the way. Switch to a dedicated human specialist, because nothing should stop your business. Call 084-1234. Cell C.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations, and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
So we're having a conversation with Dr. Shaheen Patel, who's the Academic Dean at Regent Business School, and we're looking at South Africa's looming mathematics crises and the implications that has in the future. Just off the cuff, myself and my tech producer here just talking during the break, and he asked the questions of, do we really have good teachers who have the capacity to unpack a subject such as mathematics in a way that is easily absorbed and understood from a critical perspective by a young learner. And it got me thinking, Dr. Shaheen, that I know a lot of my aunts are teachers across various subjects, and they've taught their entire lives, and they're all at retirement age, systematically coming into retirement last year, this year, next year, the bulk of them. And they are energetic, mid 60-year-olds that have the spirit of being 30 with a wealth of knowledge and teaching experience. And the question is, in our conversations, they still want to be of use to the system. They still want to sort of bring those old ways of teaching that showed results into the system. But the system is not making room for them to still lend themselves as an aid somehow. And I wonder if that is something that should be explored in the context of mathematics, is how do we bridge the two generations, the young, fresh thinking minds of educators and the old institutional minds of educators in strategic key subjects, so that they can bolster each other's efforts to have the desired result.
Yeah, I think the reality of our situation and our system within education at the moment in South Africa, perhaps maybe more broadly than South Africa, we don't have the luxury of excluding anybody. We need to be drawing on every single resource available to us, whether that be financial, human resources, or otherwise, to be part of the solution. And so, right off the bat, anybody who's got years of experience, or as you point out, decades of experience, and there's an entire band of people like that across South Africa, we must find ways of getting them more actively involved and reintegrated into the system, because they were in the system. Something happened that may or may not have, forced them out of the system or put them to the fringes of the system, and maybe now it's time for us to consider ways of bringing them back to the core of the system. But it won't be the silver bullet. People who've got a lot of experience back into the core of the education system will help, but it won't fix everything. What I think is required deeply, and that's for everybody, whether you be young, old, or otherwise, a mindset shift, almost a return to the passion for the career of teaching. When people used to talk about a calling in education, a calling in nursing, professions that required deep empathy and understanding and connection between people, those kind of professions, and teaching being one of them, that is what we need to return to. We cannot have people coming into education out of necessity. I can't find another job, so I can find a job as a teacher, and I'll go and do that as a job. We need people to follow passion.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the future implications here. If we carry on down this road, what are the real-life consequences for South Africa's economy?
Well, the world is becoming increasingly digital. It's becoming increasingly globally competitive. The world is becoming smaller and smaller each week, quite literally. And given South Africa's rise on the global stage for various reasons, politically and economically perhaps, we are part and parcel of their global village. But for us to exist and to operate in that paradigm meaningfully, then we need to have the right skills, the right capabilities, not only in STEM, not only in mathematics, but across the board. We need to have people that are well equipped to represent us as a country so that we can capitalize on opportunities that exist in the global economy. Now, if we rewind that scenario or that narrative to the level of school, then it's not about whether I choose mathematics literacy or I choose pure maths. Then it's a case of, am I opening up, or is somebody opening up a pathway for a student that will allow me to be diverse in my choices in my career later on, such that I can bring value to the table, not just for me personally in my own life and my family, but that of my country and my organizations that I represent. So we have a real risk now as South Africa, that if we don't get this issue sorted out fairly quickly, then we're going to become left behind on key issues, particularly technology, particularly data-driven and AI-driven economies of the world.
I mean, you've definitely given us a lot to ponder on this afternoon. We appreciate the time. We'll leave it there for today. That was Dr. Shaheen Patel, Academic Dean at Regent Business School. It's gone quarter to two. A quick pause. When we come back, we'll come back with a musical item that will lead us into our next conversation with Luyanda Madupe.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental dispute, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program, evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM, playing your music.
My apologies there, Luyanda. It's actually Luyanda Madope, pianist, composer, and musical director. And we're talking the Luyanda Madope trio that's going to be live. I mean, I do want to attempt to say this Afrikaans named venue, but I might just get it incorrect. It's in Melville. How are you doing, Luyanda?
I'm good, Bridget. I'm dope. I'm nice.
I'm dope,
nice.
you
How
nice.
Are you?
I'm good, thank you. So you're going to be performing in Melville this weekend at a place that was once a church, but now is a sort of lifestyle restaurant performance venue. I mean, talk to me about this performance.
Oh, Bridget, the place is called the Pink Kerk.
Oh, it's just pink. Oh, I thought
the
it
pink,
had.
Yeah, the Pink Kerk.
I thought it had a fancier pronunciation. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Pink Kerk, and it's the building. I think was built in 1902. Yeah, so yeah, it used to be a church, synagogue, Methodist, or something like that. Yanni knows better, the owner.
Yes.
But yeah, me, I love it. It's one of the places that I found this year. So I've been visiting it, delicious food and the good energy. The room is beautiful, and there's a gallery inside. So it's a beautiful place. I think South Africa or Johannesburg needs such a place.
All right.
Especially Melville,
Yes.
Some of us, they grew up in Melville, going to Melville. So it has that. It has that vibe.
That vibe, nah?
Yeah,
so you are going to be performing there from tomorrow, the 27th, as well as Saturday, the 28th, with your trio. Let's unpack your trio a little bit. Who's joining you on stage?
Bridget, as you were playing, so that was a rehearsal in my studio, where I teach my office, Imagination Room. And these guys that I'm playing with is the guys I used to study with at Fuba School of Music 27 years ago. So when I was, trying to put together, something, and then, Zwandile, I've been playing with him over the years. But now as I'm sitting down, I'm like, wow, my goodness. These guys is the first band I played with at music school, and they were my juniors. I was doing my second year, and they came to Fuba in 2000. So I saw these guys. I'm like, guys, don't you want to play with me? And then we end up forming a band. So it's a very important trio that I'll be going on stage to experiment and bring some music that I've been writing and over the years. So I'm looking forward. It's very nostalgic, if I may put it.
It's almost your own full circle moment, right? Because
exactly.
Here you are coming together now as professional graduates of music, performing professionally and bringing this trio to life. You'll be performing music from your forthcoming album, An Ode to the Womb. Talk to me about that project.
Oh, An Ode to a Womb. It's just, I'm just paying tribute to South Africa and my mother, especially, and my grandmother, hence the womb. So it's more like going back and celebrating the journey, because I was there in the womb for 9 months. There's so many things that I've experienced, I've had. There's so many interaction between me and my mother and her sound. So I moved from so the album itself is from the sounds I've heard and the sounds I've been taught, because from the womb I've been hearing, and after the womb I get to be taught, like going to preschool or and then I've been fortunate that I go and study music. So it's all of this, and I've traveled the world. So it's all these influences. More, I'm a cocktail. I'm a global cocktail.
I love that.
I'm from the Eastern Cape. That's where I was born.
Yeah. A global cocktail it is, and you're bringing that flavor to Melville this Saturday. I love to see it. So where do folks go for tickets? Or they can just pitch up at the venue, but they must pitch up well ahead of time to make sure they get their seats.
No, they don't go to cricket. You know, there's some booking, and I know that there's some changes. I don't know whether they told you, but there's some changes that we move one of the shows to the Easter Sunday.
All right.
You know, and then but we're gonna keep one show the Saturday, the Saturday show, and then we're gonna move another one to the Easter Sunday because also there's some. Like you know, the Pink Carrot is a good restaurant. Also, Sunday thing we think the jazz needs to come back and all of that. You know.
Okay.
So because we are building community and we're building like a listening audience, we wanna have people sit down and have a good time. We present these works. You know, sometimes we get to give other people outside of South Africa the work that we do. But I think it's time for our people to really experience all these great works before we take them out. You know.
Absolutely. I'm not going to pretend to even know when is Easter Sunday this year. You know, when you work in broadcast radio, because we don't get holidays. So Easter Sunday means that Easter Monday becomes the public holiday. And I never register in my head. It's next week, right? Easter Sunday. It's next week. Or the week after.
Yeah.
My producers are just as confused.
I think it's 5 of April.
5 of April. Yeah, that's the week. Yeah. That's next week. Next week Sunday, indeed. I had to look at my calendar. That's next week Sunday.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be there this Saturday, and then of course the Easter Sunday next week, Sunday the 5th. You are coming back to the Pink Kerk in Melville with the Luyanda Madope Trio. Tickets are on Quicket for anyone that wants to go through for dinner and a musical item. I think it sounds like a lovely thing to do. Especially after you've gone to church, you've broken Lent and all the rest of it, and you've been a good person, and then you can go and enjoy some music and some dinner that you didn't prepare. How lovely would that be? Luyanda, thank you so much for the time today. That was Luyanda Madope, and of course that trio is coming to Melville. So if you're going to be around, Quicket is where you go to get your ticket, and the album An Ode to the Womb you should also be on the lookout for. It's approaching the top of the hour, just a few seconds to go until 2 o'clock. We're going to come back on the other side of 2, and we're going to have a conversation because it is Human Rights Month, and we're looking at the Institute for Healing of Memories, and they say that South Africa broadly needs healing from its trauma. You might want to weigh in on that. Do you think South Africa broadly needs healing from its trauma? Are we a trauma-burdened country given the context of our history as well? 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, or 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call me on. I see a lot of you have sent me messages around the conversation of mathematics, schooling and teachers. We'll get to those in the second hour of the show. And if you are in a position to send me a voice note, because I always just like to hear your voice and I don't want to read you out of context or out of tone. So if you can send me a voice note around that, that'd be great. 2 o'clock, it's time for the news with Ondela.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, court interdicts the ANC's Eastern Cape Elective Conference, and DA calls for law to take its course on those implicated in wrongdoing. For SAFM News, I am Ondela, and a very good day. The East London High Court has interdicted the Eastern Cape ANC elective conference that was scheduled for this upcoming weekend in Gugombo. This comes after ANC members filed an urgent application seeking to interdict the conference. The applicants are citing irregularities in the convening of branch general meetings, unlawful issuing of QR codes and membership system manipulation amongst their reasons. The High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo will this afternoon hear an urgent application to interdict the ANC Provincial Conference. The application has been filed by a party member from Ward 10 Collins Chabane sub-region in Malamulele. The 3-day 11th Provincial Conference is set to start tomorrow, but Ziba Mabua reports.
According to information, a disgruntled party member Basil Mabasa is unhappy about the verification of delegates from Ward 10 Collins Chabane sub-region, arguing that it was procedurally irregular. The branch general meeting for verification of delegates was held in November last year. The applicant wants the conference to be stopped or the branch delegates to be allowed to participate in it.
The Free State High Court has dismissed Murwadi Cholota's application for leave to appeal the dismissal of her bid not to be prosecuted in the 255 million rand asbestos roof removal case. Cholota had argued that Supreme Court of Appeal could arrive at a different conclusion. In a trial within a trial, the High Court had found that the state proved beyond reasonable doubt that it did not misrepresent facts when applying to United States authorities for extradition. Cholota, who is the former personal assistant of the Free State Premier Ace Magashule, contended that the court misapplied legal principles of the law of evidence in its judgment. However, the court has ruled that there are no questions of law to be reserved for the Supreme Court of Appeal to consider. The DA says the law must take its course following reports that National Police Commissioner General Fanny Masemula has been issued with summons in connection with the controversial 360 million rand Medicare 24 contract. The contract was awarded to alleged criminal kingpin Vusimuzi Ketmatlala. This comes after the Investigative Directorate, IDEC, served Masemula with a notice to appear in court next month, intensifying scrutiny over the contract. The DA's national spokesperson Karabo Kakao says anyone implicated in criminal wrongdoing must face the full might of the law, urging authorities to act decisively and ensure justice for all South Africans.
So anybody that is suspected to be in breach of any code of criminal conduct within our country must serve before the full might of the law and receive the consequences. So the police and the justice system of this country must do everything in their power and leave no stone unturned in order to get justice for all South Africans.
Ousted former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and former First Lady Celia Flores will make a second U.S. court appearance later today in Manhattan, New York, with lawyers for the deposed president expected to push for the dismissal of all charges. Maduro and Flores were captured in a U.S. military operation in Caracas on January 3rd and then brought to the United States to face narco-trafficking, narco-terrorism and weapons charges. Allegations to which they both pleaded not guilty to, while Maduro declared himself a prisoner of war. Showing Bryce Pease reports that proceedings are expected to get underway around 5 p.m. South African time.
Maduro and Flores have been detained in separate cells at the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center since their capture in early January and 11 weeks since their first court appearance on January 5th. Both accused have been embroiled in a dispute over U.S. sanctions that prevent the Venezuelan government from paying for the couple's legal defense, an issue likely to feature in court proceedings, while arguments for the entire case to be thrown out are also expected to feature. Prosecutors argue that because the U.S. had not formally recognized Maduro as Venezuela's legitimate president since 2019, he and Flores should not expect the U.S. government to allow the Venezuelan government to pay their legal costs. Sherman Ricebee's SABC News, New York.
Recapping the top story, the East London High Court has interdicted the Eastern Cape ANC elective conference that was scheduled for this upcoming weekend in Gugombo. I'm on Dilambana for SAFM News Headlines at 2:30.
Stay tuned to SAFM coming up.
There's a bold new rhythm on SABC2 and it starts Monday 9 February, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. A new vodcast, Our Space, fires up conversation with young perspectives. At 4:30 p.m, a new talk show, Ain't Like Let's Connect, hosted by Penny Lebiane and Fran Rico. At 7:30 p.m, Deal or No Deal, now in a new time slot, Raising the Tension with Katlego Mabuwe. At 9 p.m, the new telenovela, Pimville, starring Gil Mabalane and Tapelo Mokoena, brings bold Soweto stories to life. From 23 February at 7 p.m, Settle in for new drama, Paradise, starring Losha Cooper, Ilse Klink, and Zayn Mias. This is the new era of SABC2. Live in every beat. The pulse of SA. SABC2.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This Human Rights Month, we commemorate a significant milestone, the Bill of Rights at 30, making human dignity real. For 3 decades, South Africa's constitution has been a beacon of equality, freedom, and justice for all. Yet dignity is not just written in our constitution, it must be lived, protected, and upheld every single day. Join SAFM as we unpack the issues that matter, elevate voices driving change, and reflect on the progress we've made while confronting the work that still lies ahead. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Phuma namkosi ndiyaphuma ndifihle kwingozi nentsha nayo yonke imimoya thatha indawo njengosomandla sindisa impilo yami kwababantu abalunganga kuba namhlanje ndibonile uba silwe nenyama silwa nemimoya namhlanje ndibonile uba asilwe nabantu thina silwa nemimoya asilwe nabantu thina asilwe nabantu thina silwa nemimoya asilwe nabantu thina asilwe nabantu thina silwa nemimoya 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 ezinye izinto azilungi nobungazama zibanjwe emoyeni ezimfazwe sizibonileyo aziqali namhlanje ziqale emoyeni ngoba emoyeni kuyaliwa emoyeni 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 kuyaliwa asilwe nabantu asilwe nabantu silwa nemimoya asilwe nabantu asilwe nabantu silwa nemimoya silwa nemimoya silwa nemimoya silwa nemimoya
love this song. It's Nati coming through with Imimoya. Beautiful, beautiful track, this one. Asilwe nabantu thina asilwa nemimoya. That's so true. It's very, very true. 10 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM. It is Human Rights Month, and we're going to have a conversation with the director at the non-profit organization, the Institute for Healing of Memories. And the conversation is exactly about that. My apologies, looking at South Africa, the context of South Africa, and whether or not we need healing from our collective trauma. 061-410-4107 is the number that you can call us on if you want to weigh in on this conversation. Perhaps it's something that yourself and your friends have discussed over a braai or over a casual gathering, just given who we are and what we see socially happening, what we see happening in our communities, within our families, for the individual and for the collective. And maybe you've tried to trace the source of where all of this hurt and the pain and the lashing out comes from. And maybe you yourself think that as South Africa as a whole, we need a collective healing. And what might that look like? That process of emotional restitution for South Africans. What might that be? I know a lot of people have issues around the TRC, which I think was supposed to provide this moment, but didn't necessarily do that for a lot of people. A lot of people left that process feeling shortchanged. Fatima Schwartz joins us now, Director of the Institute for Healing of Memories. How are you doing this afternoon, Fatima?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on board for this conversation.
Thank you for the time. We appreciate it. Maybe a bit of background in as far as the Institute for Healing and what you guys do.
Yeah, so I think the background of the Institute is precisely where you started off with the TRC, and the Institute was born out of that process with the recognition that not everybody would have an opportunity to come and share their story. At the TRC, we know that it was 30,000 odd people that was able to that did that. There were many people that needed to share their stories. And I think the important thing when we talk about the bigger South Africa story is that whilst we focus on the TRC, on those people who have been very directly in terms of family members that disappeared, that was killed, those kind of things. There is also stories of people that was witnessing it, that was bystanders, that was involved, but their human rights crimes were maybe not as heinous as some of the others, that was that was killed in prisons and so on. So I think the Institute is born out of that, and therefore has a very particular role because it's linked to human rights and human rights abuses. And therefore our healing connected to justice, therefore. And also because during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, there was a committee that was set up, particularly to look at the healing aspects and giving people psychosocial support during the hearings, because it was acknowledged then that it would take place. But through our years now since then, there has been very little focus on what healing looks like. In recent years, much more on the justice aspects in terms of, we know that we are revisiting many of the unfinished business of the TRC, with all these hearings taking place and so on. But I think it's been difficult for us as a society to really pinpoint what does healing look like, And I think the important thing around the TRC was, and our learning since then, is that the beginning of a healing process is about the acknowledgement that something terrible was done to us, or we have done something terrible, or we did not do anything when we saw something terrible was being done. And so that part of acknowledgement is very important, and we still have today a lot of denial about some of the stuff. And if we look at the Human Rights Month, we celebrated Human Rights Day on Saturday, but generationally, you almost have a generation that doesn't make the linkage between Human Rights Day and the Sharpeville massacre. That our interaction with our history becomes very ahistorical, and therefore we're not able to acknowledge the pain and the hurt and the disrespect and the undignified behavior and the dehumanization that has taken place over a period of decades, in fact centuries, since slavery, colonialism, and so on. And therefore we're not able to adequately address what has happened over this period of time, and therefore make interventions that address the intergenerational nature of trauma, of our woundedness, of how our stories and our living in today is shaped by where we are coming from.
Yeah.
So linking our present day poverty, gangsterism, drug abuse, gender-based violence, that it doesn't just pop out of nowhere,
Yeah.
It has a long history where it comes up, and therefore our interventions and the way in which we approach it needs to have that kind of contextual understanding.
Fatima, I just want to interject here for a second, because we will double back to a lot of the themes that you've sort of brought to the table. But let's just take a quick pause for a commercial break, and then we'll come right back.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
63-year-old Almero knows all about saving with Outsurance.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger.
And there's a out bonus that you get if you don't claim for 3 years. I am really looking forward to it.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Oh, I'm so tired.
There's nothing on the TV.
Fanas, girls, let's take a break. We are going to A1 Lake.
Take a break with us. Get your One Day Cup domestic cricket 50 over game ticket at www.cricket.co.za. Wazana Will. It's family time.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Now leave the SABC and see the tower block lit up, 27 stories of light. Move from Auckland Park into the shadow of the Hillbrow Post Office Tower.
This is the English service of the SABC. Here is the news, read by Patricia Carr. A member of the Planning Committee of the President's Council, Mr. Nick Churnicht, has been appointed chairman of the Council's Community Relations Community.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
So don't forget to tune into the National Pulse with Ashraf Garded this afternoon at 5:20 as he engages the Joe Gwabe District Municipality to unpack the 2026 debt write-off and incentive program. And you can find out how residents and businesses can benefit from interest and penalty write-offs and what conditions apply, and how this initiative supports sustainable service delivery across the district. So the program is going to be running until the 31st of December 2026, and this is your chance to understand how to get relief and stay compliant. So don't miss this important conversation.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
I mean, ideally, we'd like you to be involved in this conversation. And 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note, you're more than welcome to do so. It is Human Rights Month, and we're reflecting on the healing from our collective traumas as South Africans with Fatima Schwartz, who's the director at the Institute for Healing of Memories. A part of what you said earlier on, Fatima, was this acknowledgement where the healing begins at the acknowledgement phase, the acknowledgement of the pain that was inflicted, the hurt that was leveled, or even those who stood by and did nothing. And when we've had this conversation around racial tensions and racial dynamics on this particular show, and in the last probably 6-7 years of the last shows I've done on radio, that always comes up. It always comes up to say, how do we heal? How do we move on? How do we forget when there's never been an accountability, when there's never been an I'm sorry and naming what you are sorry for? Because that's a very important part of that shows an understanding for what I did and the consequences and the effects that it had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the word accountability is it's very important, that we need to hold ourselves and others accountable, whether we consciously or unconsciously contributed to upholding systems that was dehumanizing our sisters and brothers, in our country and across because it's not just South Africa, it's the whole Southern Africa region, right, that has been involved in this. I mean, we just recently commemorated Pitu Carnaval. So we need to make the linkages, because our present day situation around xenophobia and all of that, we need to address the issues of refugees, not just in our own local South African context, but as an African continent, and therefore look at the history of the continent. So accountability, I think, it's very important. But as you were saying, as we are celebrating Human Rights Month, a big focus should be about acknowledging what has happened and for people to know about it, Because sometimes there's acknowledgement in small, little, isolated places and apologies, but it doesn't become part of the general narrative of our country. Many people don't know about it. So the ongoing struggles of getting these stories out, I think there has been significant progress made in terms of documentaries that people are creating and making available for conversations and so on and so forth. But it still hasn't become mainstream, We don't say on a day like today, this is what happened, And we have still, unfortunately, created our stories around icons. So that the story and the suffering and the pain of people in communities are not really acknowledged. People that was living in the townships and so on hasn't been addressed. I mean, we do healing of memories workshops in communities, say in Boibatong or so on. We know that they were saying necklacing that happened, right? People witness it at the same time in the street. We don't think about the impact that was had on everybody that was present there, And so we have been trying to do the healing very piecemeal, if I want to put it that way, and concentrating it around the icons that we have. And I think what we have been doing as the Institute is going to the communities, going to these organizations and people working with people that have been affected, people who have witnessed these things, and get them to tell us how do they see this healing taking place, or what would be good for them. And it is linked to what is happening to people now.
Absolutely. I also want to touch on, for example, the example you place around the community that witnessed all those brutal murders. There's a sense of we need a renewed focus on the emotional and psychological restoration for many South Africans, because that speaks to the fact that people are carrying different types of traumas. And those different kinds of traumas require a different, nuanced psychological supports that are accessible to everybody.
Yes, and I think creating spaces like you are creating right now and asking people to join the conversation is very important. So in different ways, joining conversations, it's about finding solutions and way forward. It's not necessarily about, and to hold people accountable, but not in ways in which we want to further fracture society, you know? So we need to find a kind of language in which we want to approach one another, in which we want to create and talk about difficult situations in dignified, respectful ways. Because calling each other names are not taking us anywhere, you know? It doesn't heal us, it doesn't bring us to anything further. But I also think that part of it is that there is policies in place from government around giving psychosocial support. But this is not being operationalized. I think the one challenge of South Africa is that we are very good on paper. It's just as our constitutions are very good on paper. But we don't implement, we don't operationalize, we don't form supportive, caring networks in which people can be supported. I think particularly around starting with, and because we also have a youth program, because of the intergenerational nature of the traumas that they have gone through, is to give support for young people in schools from a very early age, so that they can deal with the anger and the impact of what it's had on their parents and their parents' then parenting skills, or what they talk about, or the silences, you know. So there is a lot that we can do, and I think there's a lot that has already been said, and a willingness from certain sectors of people to do that. But what we cannot allow to continue is this conversation, and you alluded to it, where people want to still suggest ignorance, that they did not know that it happened. If you knew you were living in an African country and you never saw Africans only in the context of somebody to come and work in your garden and in your kitchen, then how could you not know? It's this kind of thing. We mustn't create easy way out for people because we want to pretend that we are a rainbow nation. You know?
Absolutely.
It doesn't help us, but I think that we do have the capacity and we do have the language to be able to say to people, no, this is, what did you think when you saw this? You know?
Absolutely. Fatima, we have to leave it there, unfortunately, for today. But I think you've opened up a very important conversation in these final days of human rights that can be carried out even in our own social circles. Just to have a trust and raw conversation between the various friends from the various backgrounds that we encounter and the colleagues that we encounter every single day, because healing begins with us on a one-on-one level. If we are to truly connect genuinely as human beings, then we are truly needing to know each other, because we come as who we are as a person before who we are in the context of titles and profession, and our social class and standing. It's 2:30. It's time for the headline news with Ondela, and then after that, we'll jump straight into our kids programming with Nalibali.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the South African Reserve Bank is facing a tough call ahead of its interest rate decision that is expected shortly, with rising global uncertainty clouding the outlook. The East London High Court has interdicted the Eastern Cape ANC elective conference that was scheduled for this upcoming weekend in Gugombo, and a commission set up to investigate violence during the anti-corruption protest in Nepal last September has recommended that the former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli be prosecuted for failing to prevent dozens of deaths. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Side by Side.
A very good afternoon and welcome to Side by Side, brought to you by the National Department of Health, Ilifa Labantwana, and the SABC Education. March is Eye Health and Optometry Awareness Month, and today we bring you a special show focusing on the importance of early identification and treatment of eyesight problems in both children and adults. You'd agree with me that good vision plays an important role in learning, development, in our everyday life. And the earlier problems are detected, the better the outcome. If you notice your little ones squinting, struggling to see, or complaining about their vision, it's important to take action early. Now, the Department of Health encourages all parents and caregivers to pay close attention and seek help as soon as possible. Now, joining us to guide us on this important topic is Professor Thokozile Ingrid Metzing, who is an associate professor at the University of Johannesburg from the Optometry Department. She's also a public director of the South African Optometric Association. Prof, thank you so much for joining us today. In honor of Eye Health and Optometry Awareness Month, we're shining a light on the different types of visual impairments that can affect both children and adults. Prof, thank you so much for joining us today. In honor of Eye Health and Optometry Awareness Month, we're shining a light on the different types of visual impairments that can affect both children and adults. Now, to help us understand better this topic, can you please explain to us what is visual impairment?
Thank you for having me. Visual impairment refers to a wide range of illnesses that affect the eye structures or the functions of the eye. And these functions of the eye actually include a lack of clarity, loss of visual field, poor eye coordination, light sensitivity, including color contrast, and the others. Although these are theoretically referred to as visual impairments, visual disorders can have a significant impact on a child's development and learning, leading to poor academic performance and poor coordination.
Prof, many people often use the term vision impairment and blindness interchangeably, but they're not exactly the same. What is the difference between vision impairment and blindness?
Vision impairment refers to a broad range of visual loss difficulties, which is impacting on day-to-day functioning. However, vision dysfunctions, which are also a part of, fall under the umbrella of vision impairments, are related to the reduced ability to see compared to visual impairment, which is most of the time associated to lack of perception of light, which is like blindness.
In one of our previous episodes, our side-by-side episodes, we've spoken about the importance of early identification and screening, especially for children. Why are these early eye checks so important, and where can parents or caregivers take their children to have their eyes tested?
The early detection of visual anomalies is very, very important, which can be found using the vision screenings. And why is it important? It's because it supports normal vision development, monitoring and making sure that the children are fine. It is actually very important because the earlier the identification of these visual problems will improve on learning and academic performance of the children. Where can this be done? We do have public health facilities and referrals can be requested from healthcare workers at the clinics that the parents are visiting to take their children there. And some NGO partners also offer these services for free to communities. For a list of these NGO, one can visit Side by Side South Africa on Facebook. Parents must remember, if their child is already blind, this disability does not define your child. With love, patience, and the right support, every child can grow and shine in their own way.
So would it be correct to say that eye screenings form an important part of tracking a child's overall growth and development?
Yes, it is very, very important for monitoring the development of children. And it is very, very important for caregivers to pay careful attention to how their children are developing based on their age. Every child develops at their own pace, but some children may take longer because of a disability. Thus, it is very, very important that parents track their children's developmental milestones, since children are supposed to do certain things at different ages. And these milestones can be found on the Road to Health booklet on page 23 and page 24. We encourage parents to read and use the Road to Health booklet to be able to monitor how their children are developing according to their age, and to speak to a healthcare worker if they have any concerns about their children not reaching the developmental milestones as it is indicated on the Road to Health booklet.
Prof, when it comes to young children, especially as early as 6 weeks to, let's say, around 4 years old, what are some of the key developmental milestones that parents and caregivers should be looking out for?
The key developmental milestones in those age groups between the 6 weeks, ages of 6 weeks and 4 years, for the following of the face of the objects with the eyes. That is actually the skill that is there by the age of 14 weeks. Being able to hear noises and be startled, by the noises, looking at the direction of where the noise is coming from. And that is the skill that they can have by the age of 14 weeks, and being able to move their eyes or head in the direction of the sounds. And that is what the developmental milestone that can be achieved at 6 months of age. They should actually, at this age, at 6 months of age, be able to respond by making bubbling sounds. At 9 months, the children should be able to focus their eyes on faraway objects. By age 2 to 4 years, then the other developmental milestones, which are actually at a higher standard than when they were younger, such as physical development, being able to walk, run, jump, and to be able to move backwards. And then fine motor skills is another skill that is required, showing that the child can be able to hold a pen steadily in their hands. And they should be in a position to start building blocks and being able to use the scissors. Language development is another developmental skill that they need to have so that they can actually understand and follow simple instructions and even to express themselves. Social and emotional development is another stage whereby they should be able to achieve that between the ages of 2 and 4 years, when they can start forming friendships, playing cooperatively with the others, and showing empathy to the others. Yeah, these are some of the milestones that I can think of. And these milestones are very important because they indicate that the child is developing at a typical rate. But it is important to remember that each child is unique, and we don't expect them to be developing at the same rate.
Now, how can parents and caregivers actively support their child's development during this important early stage of life?
Early exposure of children to early vision screenings is very, very important, since at those early stages, as I've mentioned earlier on, they can see, that's why they follow faces, and they start hearing from 14 weeks. Parents should encourage physical activity, provide opportunities for active play. They should promote language skills, tell stories, and read to their children. They should foster social interaction as well, arrange play dates with other children. The parents can actually visit Side by Side South Africa to find out how to make some toys and games at home so that they can keep their children active and them to be able to develop appropriately or properly.
Professor Masinga, thank you so much for joining us today. As we wrap up, do you have any final words or advice for all of us, especially parents and caregivers, when it comes to protecting and caring for their children's eye health?
Yes, the advice that I can give is that as we commemorate Optometry Week and Eye Health Awareness Month, it is important that the children's eyesight is monitored, and by having them screened and tested. Vision screenings, as I've mentioned earlier, and I'm repeatedly saying that, are essential for keeping children's eyes healthy, ensuring early identification and intervention if needed, and improving their general visual health. Screenings are free at public health facilities and through NGOs. Vision screening examinations have a few advantages that I have already mentioned that the parents should be aware of and make sure that they present their children for the vision screenings and other screenings, of course, such as hearing screenings. I just want to say thank you for having me, and I hope whatever I have presented will be of good use and be helpful to the listeners. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Side by Side. Join the conversation with other caregivers on our Facebook page at Side by Side SA and look out for more great content. That's it for today. See you next time.
Side by Side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. SFM, playing the music you want to hear.
I
Asemnandinto. Hey, what a beautiful song. Imve Mnyama. That is the artist, and he released his debut EP, Emnyama Ndawo, across all digital streaming platforms. We're going to catch up now with the musician, find out more about him, about his inspirations, and of course what's to be expected from the debut offering. How are you doing this afternoon, Imve Mnyama?
Bridget, I'm all right. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. All right, let's firstly unpack the stage moniker. Let's unpack the name. Why this particular one?
So I grew up in the Eastern Cape, and even though from a township, I have some exposure to a kraal. And one thing I remembered is that a black sheep, which is in Mnyama, that's what Mnyama translates to, is a very rare sighting. And even when it comes to its use from an agricultural point of view, it's really used for wool. Like, you won't take it to the market because there's very few of them to create substantial wool. And also for slaughtering. I mean, the people will be very suspicious if why are you slaughtering a black sheep? So in the context of that crowd, then it means that it will survive and it will be the observer of that crowd. Now, if we think of one's society, this is how I see myself as, this observant sitter in a corner without necessarily grabbing a spotlight, but it is quite useful then if you're around and looking at things happening. So that's what it enables me to do within those parameters of a kraal. But now, in our ordinary talk, when we speak, we will say a black sheep is someone who goes against the grain. So then imagine in that crowd the ability to go in and out. That was what how the name came about. Yes.
I actually love it because I love sort of the contradiction or the juxtaposition about the symbolism of this black sheep, right? On the one hand, it's this rare sighting, it's this survivalist, because the thing that makes it so unique is also the thing that deters it from having this inevitable life that the rest are going to endure. But then on the other side as well, there's the darkness that's associated with it, especially from an African cultural perspective, how it's perceived, and maybe just challenging those perceptions a little bit as well to see it for what it really is. So I like where you're going with this in the conversation that it starts. How does this then translate into the music? How does this kind of thinking translate into the music that you're bringing to market?
Yeah, so it helps in that because I do socially engaged music. So if you know, it's all kinds of concern about one's society. So, and there will be expectations of responsibility, for example, from the kind of music I make. But now, an Mnyama type of situation allows me to be correct at times, but to be able to be incorrect too, without creating expectations. It can be joyful or sadness. It can be discipline or indiscipline, responsibility or irresponsibility. So I want to claim that freedom, that at times a message that I can speak can disappoint what you expect from me, right? Even though there's an expectation to agree because you are saying something that is usually from a responsible point of view. But what if I want to disagree even against my own people? So it should be possible to do that.
Absolutely. The EP is out or is coming out?
It is coming out on Saturday, the 28th. And we'll be launching it as well on Saturday at Brixton on the same day.
Oh, you are launching at Lit Culture in Brixton?
Yes.
All right. Now tell me about the contents of the EP. Is it 6 tracks, 9 tracks?
It is 6 tracks. 6-track project. It involves contributions from 15 trained musicians. 3 guitarists, 2 keyboard players, 2 bassists, 2 drummers. So it was quite some work. And it is called Emnyama Ndawo.
which translates obviously to the dark place. And in terms of putting this together, was this a project that was put together at a concentrated time period, or was this a project that sort of culminated over months and years of you being a storyteller, musical storyteller?
Yeah, no, it's a combination of many years. At least from a studio point of view, we started recording in 2024. That's when Mnyama, as an artist, was born. On the same date, 28 March 2024. That was the first show. And then from there on, I started recording. But some of those songs were written a while ago. One of them dates as far back as 2015. And of course, in between 2015 and now was my involvement in bands, in all kinds of artistic engagements. And leading up to now, in Mnyama having been born 2024 and creating until now.
Well, listen, fantastic. I look forward to seeing you out at the circuit in performance this coming Saturday, we said, right? Lit Culture in Brixton is the launch of the project Mnyama Ndao, which translates to a dark place by Mnyama. So look out for that name at all the festivals indeed. And you can get the EP, of course, wherever you download and buy your music. By download, I mean where you buy your music. Thank you for the time, Mnyama. It's a blast. We look forward to seeing what else you offer the musical space. This is all the time we have for the show today, because today we're going to find out what's happening with the repo rate. Is this the first one for the year? I can't keep it. It was second one for the year. I also don't keep up anymore. So the South African Reserve Bank is going to giving us what is the decision around that repo rate at 3 o'clock today. So we want to take the news a little bit earlier on. And currently, of course, we know that repo rate is at about 6.75%, with the prime at about 10.25. A lot of what we've seen during the course of the day, because a lot of, financial analysts and money market people weigh in ahead of this decision. A lot of them anticipating that the repo rate should hold where it's at, even given what's going on globally. They say we should not be anticipating a change up or down. It should just stay stationary for the moment. What does that mean for you and I, given everything that we're up against for 2026? We are yet to find out. But that's where we leave it. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation. We appreciate it greatly, and we'll see you tomorrow. Inshallah, God willing, we got to do it again. Yeah, we were hoping to take the school voice notes. We were going to do it in these minutes, but alas, they reminded us about the repo rate. Ondela is standing by with the news, and then Ashraf is coming through.
You could win a car. You could win a car. Everyone could win a car.
Spar Win a Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products. Like 2-liter Brooks Oro Squash for $36.99. Save 10 Rand. Or 3 kg Sunlight Hand Wash Powder for $79.99. Save 20 Rand. Price is valid from 23 March till 7 April. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion, because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours, and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations, and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thank you, Bridget, and the team on the top stories. An announcement on the repo rate expected shortly, and court interdicts the ANC's Eastern Cape Elective Conference. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good afternoon. The South African Reserve Bank is facing a tough call ahead of its interest rate decision that is expected shortly, with rising global uncertainty clouding the outlook. Oil prices have surged about $100. The rand has weakened towards 17 to the dollar, and global bond yields remain elevated as the war in the Middle East continues. Economists warn that cutting rates now could undermine the bank's inflation-fighting credibility, with oil prices above $100 and the rand under pressure. Independent economist John Lewis says keeping rates unchanged may be their safest option as inflation risks mount.
Everybody knows that by April, CPI inflation will in all probability be noticeably higher. So if you were to cut, you start to send a signal to the market of, well, we're going to focus on growth instead of inflation. And, the markets do want price stability. Price stability in a country is a very important thing. Price instability in the longer run can even create heightened social unrest. So, it's important for the Reserve Bank to, for the longer term economic performance, credibility, investor confidence, to be seen, to be focused on inflation.
The East London High Court has interdicted the Eastern Cape ANC elective conference that was scheduled for this upcoming weekend in Kukombo. This comes after ANC members filed an urgent application seeking to interdict the conference. The applicants are citing irregularities in the convening of branch general meetings, unlawful issuing of QR codes, and membership system manipulation amongst their reasons. The National Consumer Commission says the recall of nearly 600 Ford Transit and Tornado custom vehicles involves the H7 AGM battery, which could overheat and pose health risks to drivers and passengers. Drivers may notice a distinct smell of rotten eggs inside the cabin, hear a hissing sound, or even see gas venting from the battery. In some cases, the sit area may feel unusually warm. The Commission's Prudence Moilwa says the chemical reaction inside the batteries produces dangerous hydrogen sulfide gas.
The prolonged exposure to this gas may pose potential health risks to vehicle occupants. Owners and drivers of the affected vehicles are urged to take their vehicles to the nearest authorized dealership for the necessary repairs. The necessary repairs will be carried out at no cost to the consumers.
The Pietermaritzburg High Court has overturned a decision by Land Reform and Rural Development Minister Mzonele Nyonzo to dissolve the board of the Ingonyama Trust. The trust administers traditional land in KwaZulu-Natal. The minister decided to dissolve the board last week after a number of resignations left it with only 4 members, while the quorum was 5. The acting CEO of the trust, Siyamdumisa Vilakazi, said in court papers legislation provides for the filling of positions left vacant because of resignations. He also pointed out that regulations stipulate that a quorum can be established in a follow-up meeting. The court heard that the board needs to pass the 2026-27 budget urgently. A commission set up to investigate violence during the anti-corruption protest in Nepal last September has recommended that the former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli be prosecuted for failing to prevent dozens of deaths. The findings were leaked just hours before newly elected members of parliament were sworn in. The BBC's Joanna Kin reports.
KP Sharma Oli and his government were forced to resign amid demonstrations which began over a brief social media ban, but were fuelled by anger over corruption and social inequality. At least 19 young people were killed as police opened fire on protesters on the first day. 77 people died during 2 days of unrest that saw government buildings and the Supreme Court set on fire. Mr. Oli maintains he never ordered security forces to shoot, but the commission found there was no effort to stop or control the firing.
Recapping the top story, the South African Reserve Bank is facing a tough call ahead of its interest rate decision that is expected shortly, with rising global uncertainty clouding the outlook. I'm Ondelambana for SFM News. Headlines at 3:30.
And in sports this hour, Kipchoge headlines record Cape Town Marathon failed. UEFA finds Benfica, and Koepka tees off on Houston course he helped shape. More details at 3:30.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, as we start the show, let's get straight to the South African Reserve Bank's announcement around March interest rates.
As they wait for more information. Markets have largely dropped expectations for rate cuts in major economies, and probabilities of rate hikes have risen. Turning to South Africa, the latest data show the economy grew faster in the fourth quarter of 2025, with output rising by 1.1% for the year as a whole. This is better than recent years, but still well below longer-run averages. We have been encouraged by green shoots such as rising confidence and stronger investments, but the ongoing war would interrupt the growth recovery. For the time being, our growth projections are largely unchanged.